Yo, call me a super game the way I show you my super aim. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Games Kids. Today, and only today, we are here to talk about this alleged SEGA super game, the biggest budget title or titles, depending on how you want to see it. And I just wanted to go over this game because a lot of people have been discussing it. There's a lot of misinformation about what this is, but there's a lot of hype and promise for what this is. So as always, sit back, relax, and listen to your boy give you the hype rundown. This all started because Dexerto and a bunch of other websites basically claim SEGA claims that they have a super game with a budget projected at 800 million, set to release in March 2026. Now, this obviously set people in a hype and a place. A lot of people are like, this is an awful idea. If SEGA burns all their money on one game, it either has to be a peak video game or their entire company's fucked. You know, or they were just extremely hyped. They're like, holy shit, this is going to be awesome. And they were just, everybody's been speculating what the game will be. But it turns out there's a bit more to it, right? Because this comes from an interview with SEGA that is explaining that a super game is a new concept that SEGA is building. We actually have the exact definition of it here, which I will read for you all. So, super game is defined as the development of AAA ranked titles developed by SEGA that aim to become a huge worldwide hit online. SEGA provides a variety of game content, including hardware and arcades, and is able to do this because it has a diverse range of technologies. We aim to develop such AAA titles that cross over SEGA's comprehensive technologies as a super game in our 5-year plan. So right away, I mean, we know that it's not a title. It is multiple titles. So I feel like that alone should clear a lot of things. A lot of people have been like, why would they do all this money on one game? It is for multiple AAA titles. And I'll give my thoughts on it once we read a little bit more. So we're developing multiple titles within the framework of a super game. While each title is different, there's no doubt that the titles will have interactivity that goes beyond the framework of traditional games. For example, in the past, people who played games were called gamers, but now watching games has become a culture in itself. And such people can no longer be called gamers. I think there's great potential in the relationship between the people who play the game and the people who watch it. With these possibilities in mind, we are thinking about creative new entertainments, right? In fact, initiatives that could become part of a super game have already begun with titles currently in operation. For example, in terms of a game that viewing mentioned earlier, it's a system that allows viewers to intervene in the game. We are experimenting with various possibilities to expand the range of players. So this is, you know, the typical, like, we're trying to maybe go above the online range. This is obviously talking about online. You know how like online games, probably just watching a streamer or a content creator has become so much part of culture that maybe you're not necessarily a gamer, but you want to be into the act of gaming in some way, so they want to do something with that. Gamers have a history of expanding and connecting various cultures and technologies. For example, recent examples of SNS and watching game videos. It's a natural for the future of games to expand by involving new fields such as cloud games and NFTs. That's ass. No one cares about that. But let's talk about the scale of these super games. Right? We believe that the following 4 requirements will be the criteria for a super game, which is a big deal. Multi-platform, which is a good thing. Global multilingual expansion, so I guess having multiple languages worldwide. Simultaneous worldwide release. AAA title. In other words, I think you can imagine the scale of game development that aims to become a worldwide hit. So this is such good news to me. Like, you have no idea how happy this makes me, because I feel like for a long time SEGA has been sort of like almost like awesome at making AA games. You know, Sonic for a very long time now has sort of devolved to AA. You know, as much as I adore Sonic, it's weird. Sonic is this weird franchise where like the IP itself is AAA, like it's in the $1 billion revenue share. In fact, recently there was the recent earnings calling where they said I think Sonic games are now at 1.8 billion worldwide in terms of everything. But it's like with a game like Sonic, right? The games have been AA, or even like stuff like Yakuza, where I love Yakuza, you love Yakuza, a lot of people like Yakuza, but they're still AA in scale, you know, and you think of Persona, it's still JRPG, so it's AA, but it's still peak at being that, you know. But I think you gotta think AAA. AAA are your things like your God of Wars, you know, your Call of Duties, your Spider-Mans, your Pokemon, even in some. Well, Pokemon's sort of like Sonic, where the company makes $1 trillion, but they make shitty games. But I like the Pokemon games. Don't worry about that. But you know what I mean. Like the scale of them are very much smaller. You know, or Mario Odyssey, I would say, is a AAA game. I think, or even Zelda, right? Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is a AAA game. So everyone has their kind of definition of what it is, but sort of it has to be a big budget, big deal, right? And if they're claiming that, you know, they have $800 million set on the super game project, that means these games are getting a lot of money allocated to them, right? And this is a big deal, right? Because we have a few things to cover. Obviously, you know, this is a Sonic channel, so I gotta talk about Sonic. I'll talk about some of the other things, but we'll start a little bit on the Sonic chain. So right here, right? Remember, this was in February this year, which was a pretty big deal at the time, and actually can like puts into perspective this. So despite average reviews, Sonic Frontiers with the new open zone has approached very popular with the fans so much that Sega is willing to pump more money into games, starting with the Blue Blur. In a Q&A with investors, Sega revealed that the sales of the latest game of the series have greatly exceeded the company's original estimates, which I believe the game is at near 4 million copies sold or at there. And SEGA is committed to giving Sonic Team a bigger budget for future titles. We expect development costs for new titles to grow even larger in the future, Sega says. We will strive to ensure solid quality in the development of major titles from our existing franchise. However, development labor costs will rise due to the impact of the global external environment, and we expect this trend to continue for the foreseeable future. Since it is necessary to take on these challenges for major titles, we are proceeding with a bigger budget, even from the basic research stage. Therefore, we assume that development costs for future new titles will increase accordingly. So, this alone, mega big deal. It cannot be understated how big of a deal this is, because for the longest time, right, Sega, Sonic Team especially, like, it's been so weirdly poorly managed, where like I said, Sonic is this big IP, but Sonic Team did not have a big budget for a long time. I feel like the last time they had a mega budget for a game back in the day was Sonic Unleashed. You know, Sonic Colors, you could tell, budget smaller, still a good game. Sonic Generations, you could argue, probably had a bigger budget, but then it's sort of lowered. You know, you could tell Lost World is a smaller budget. The Wii U era of Sonic Boom, Sonic Colors, Sega Olympics, or those 3DS Boom games, like, you could tell everything was so small on budget. Then Sonic Forces, you could tell, was made with like 2 pieces of wood and a stick. And then you had, you know, a game like Mania, which probably wasn't too expensive to make, but was worth it. And then obviously you get the Sonic Frontiers, which probably had a decent budget, probably less than 100 million. I would probably put it in maybe, I don't know, maybe the 50 million more range. I could be wrong. It could be less than that. I'm just trying to make a guesstimate right here. But yeah, but basically now the team is going to have bigger money, and it's going probably to become part of the Super Game Initiative. And also, if you were to really think about it genuinely, right, if their first super game is going to be March 2026, there's a chance this is Sonic, right? There's a big chance that this is going to be a Sonic title, because at that point, Sonic Frontiers will be 4 years old, which not only gives the team more than enough time to work on a sequel that's using existing framework, but they get to fit within that budget. They get to, you know, from the beginning of it, R&D, bigger budget, you know, new character models, new environments, new this, new that. I think whether it's the first one or the second one, I believe Sonic, no matter what, is a super game. There's literally no other world where it's not going to be a super game. I mean, I don't think there's too much. What kind of experience and skills can I gain by being involved in the development of a super game? You could read about it here. So development is basically done using Unreal Engine 5, which, again, another big deal. Unreal Engine 5, the latest, biggest engine. It's a big deal. Now, I don't know if Sonic uses its own engine. It uses the Hedgehog engine. So I don't know if they'd switch to Unreal. Maybe it would be a good idea. I'm not sure. We're also collaborating with startup companies that have AI technology and are taking on challenges using AI and everything from back-end like debugging to front-end things like game camera, which I don't know how I feel about that. Commentary and automatic voice synthesis. At the moment, we are coming up with ideas that we can achieve through the trial and errors with various technologies. From this perspective, I think there are many opportunities to come into this. Again, there's a million little things about this super game. We don't need to see every tiny detail, but we can properly assess this. Now, there's also a recent article that I want to kind of touch on, where Sega, again, you can tell they're ramping up Sonic, because they were actually talking about this in another interview, where they were saying, simply put, I want to surpass Mario. This is one of the heads of Sega executive, right? He said, Sonic was originally developed to compete with Mario, and we have yet to achieve that because we respect Mario. My goal is to catch and surpass him. I fucking love that energy. To me, it's all about the energy, right? If the energy is big, you know, I feel like the ambition is big and the money is big. And I think, you know, Kishimoto and the team at Sonic Team so much understand now how much Sonic fans love this series and how bigger it's getting. I mean, Sonic Movie 3 is going to be massive. If Movie 1 was doing great, Movie 2 got about, what I believe, 400 million box office. There's no way Sonic Movie 3 with Shadow the Hedgehog and all its marketing and all this is it going to hit the, you know, the 500 to 600 million mark at the box office. It's probably going to be huge, especially because it's going to come out in the holiday. Sonic is massive right now. You know, we are just seeing a massive boon for the series. And I think also, I mean, to sort of touch on the other games, right, for this Super Game Initiative, we got to think about Sega's big ones. We do know there's a Jet Set Radio game in development, right? There was that one screenshot that leaked of it back when we had that leak that had Persona 3, the early beta footage of Sonic, and it showed Jet Set. And that thing is basically confirmed because the footage that leaked from that about Persona 3 Remake is literally like in the footage of Persona 3 Reload, and you know, Sonic Frontiers. So I have no doubt that that Jet Set game is probably real. I don't know if it's going to be part of that Super Game Initiative. I don't know how big of a deal they want Jet Set to be or how big of a deal Jet Set can be, but that's probably going to be, you know, a game they've got coming up. Yakuza, I think we are seeing Yakuza continuing to grow as a franchise for Sega, becoming one of their most popular and most beloved. I mean, they consistently have great reviews, fans adore them. And obviously Persona. I'm 100% guessing that Persona 6, I don't know if it's gonna come out before. I mean, would Persona 6 take 3 more years to come out? I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, I feel like we'll hear about Persona 6 probably in 2024, and realistically it'll come out in 2026, which would make it possible to be one of the super games. I would have no doubt that the next Persona game is gonna have a crazy budget behind it and everything. But that's really like everything. You know, I feel like this initiative of the super game, I just want to clarify it a bit, explain it to y'all, and sort of, you know, get hyped for it, because I really do feel like whether it's Persona, whether it's Yakuza, whether it's a new IP Sega wants to build, whether it's fucking Monkey Ball being massive, I just think this is a big deal. And again, on a selfish note, I cannot wait to see what they cook with Sonic, especially. I feel like that's going to be the franchise that genuinely thrives the most from this, and it needs it the most, you know, because with Sonic Frontiers we saw a game that you could tell had ambition but was limited by how much money, like stuff like the pop-in or stuff, some of the tech issues or some things, you know, the lack of polish. I think having the resources and the understanding now of what the fans want, next game will go stupid with the money. I'm very happy. So guys, let me know what you guys want to see from the Sega Super game. What do you expect from it? Is it too much ambition? What is it? Let me know your thoughts, and of course I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.